I'm just doing an Alfie book at the moment, so I'm going in there in the morning and just getting paints out and squeezing the... It's very tactile. It's much more fun than being a writer because, you know, you're not just sitting there trying to dredge something up out of your mind. You've done all that bit by the time you start off on the artwork. I work on paper. I do a rough. The first thing I do is a rough. I don't use a computer. I think my ideas come from characters and they are rooted in reality. I don't, on the whole, do spaceships and talking animals, and I don't think I probably ever will. So when I first think of a character who was going to be in a story, for instance, when I first thought of Alfie, I did a very quick sketch of him. He was running up the road, and I knew he was pink in the face to get into the action, you see, so that's how it began. I keep sketchbooks, you see. I don't use a camera, and that is a way of observing. You go out with a sketchbook. You're hanging around in the park or a play area somewhere, and I draw. And when you draw, you're looking at, particularly at children, the way they stand, the way when they're rather unsure of themselves, the way they all huddle together and look at things intently, and then they all run off and, like a flock of birds. I draw whatever's around, you know. This was a man hanging onto a tree, trying to prune a tree, you know, in one of those frames, and he was hanging from the tree, you know, and going up the tree with his earplugs in. And when you've drawn something, it registers in your memory. If you take a photograph, you've got the photograph, but you haven't quite recorded it in your memory. But when I've done that, I can go home and make it all up. Getting the vitality of that first rough, like with Alfie running up the street, or my naughty little sister, you know, when I was trying to get her down on paper, what she looked like. That has a huge vitality. You've done it very, very quickly. You then have to get that vitality into the finished artwork. And that may be some months later when you've got all the contracts sorted out and you know you're going to use colour. It obviously can't be too rough because it's got to be a clearer outline and you're going to use, you know, paints. And so you have to recreate that first excitement in the finished artwork. That's quite a challenge, actually. So in this particular book, it was an outside-inside drama. He ran up the steps of the house. Mum was behind with a little toddler in the pram and there was, he slammed the door and he got stuck inside. And of course, it's a marvellous piece of technology because when you get a book, you've got the gutter down the middle, like that. And you're always trying to flow across it or pretend it isn't. I suddenly realised I could make this part of the story. So even the smallest non-reader can see that he's stuck in there and she's the mother, that's the outside, and there's a frantic build-up. So the actual book itself, I think it's a wonderful piece of technology. I hope it survives. I'm sure it will, actually, against all the other competition. So that was just one way of dealing. And then Alfie emerged as a character, and he's gone on. He'd be 30-something by now. This was my first attempt at a picture book. It's landscape shape, and I only got limited colour. I mean, I only got that spread colour, and as you see, I was all black and white. I wasn't, because it was too expensive. Amazing to think of. This is separated colour. So I did a black and white drawing, and I had a pink and a yellow and a blue. But you see how limited the colour was. Here's one I had to have colour for the shops. You see the very old-fashioned, the pawn shop with the 3 gold balls, baker. This was very much based on a little shopping precinct, which is down there. Sweet shop, and then lots more black and white. So as you see, it was an economy job. It was a fairly basic through the day book. That's what it was about. The challenge is getting the freedom of the rough and the original idea into the finished artwork. You're supposed to look as though it's just flowing out of you. Really, you've worked pretty hard on it. But when it's good, you know, when you're going good, it's a wonderful feeling. It's like flying into the sun.